Just three dudes having a conversation. You're my friend and I trust you. Bam, bam.
Welcome back.
To You're My Friend and I Trust You.
It's a podcast.
It's a podcast. You might have noticed, if you'd have been listening to our show before, that our intro is a little bit different this week.
Just a little bit.
That's because we have a very, very, very special guest with us by the name of Avery Benter.
Hello.
It's my cousin.
Pudge's cousin.
Hi there.
His little baby cousin.
Kissing cousins.
We've actually tried to do this before.
Yep.
Kiss?
Well. That was off to a good start. Yeah, tell them what happened.
We recorded a pretty killer episode, if you ask me, at camp.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a long one, too.
I'm stoked about it. I was just excited to be a part of something bigger than myself, you know?
To give back.
Just to give back to the world. I've been given so much, and I was just so excited to give back.
And we messed up a setting, to say the least.
Yeah. Something was wrong, and you can hear our voices fine, but there's like just a constant the whole time.
Manageable.
Yeah.
You know.
Like I said before, I listened to like 5 minutes of it, and I was starting to get used to it around that time.
Just what you want. You want to have to get used to a podcast.
That's right. Yeah. Just get really...
It's like a really good podcast, but there's just a person screaming right behind the person recording. If you can get through that, you will love it.
That's right.
Just like going to a concert and somebody's talking behind you.
Or
it's like The Office season 1.
If you can get through that,
Yeah,
that's
you're
right.
good.
You're golden.
I find the most annoying thing at concerts are when guys near you are like trying to sing the harmony.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
That's me.
That was me.
I do that.
Drives me nuts.
I just don't.
If they can do it, that's great.
Yeah.
But most of the time, in my experience, it's guys who cannot.
Yeah.
Have no business trying. Like me, I would have no business trying to sing harmony. So I don't.
You're a worship leader. I think that should be at least one of the minimum qualifications.
But leader, meaning I sing melody.
Sometimes a leader leads
no special
from the
music.
background. But welcome, everybody, to the podcast. We'll tell you where you can find us later. We won't get into that now.
Yeah.
But Avery Benter,
Yeah.
half famous,
Not anymore.
almost famous.
It got so close. It was so. I flew too close to the sun.
What happened with all that? But first off, if you don't mind me asking what happened with all that,
No, you're
but
good.
cue everybody in as to what you were previously doing. It's pretty sweet.
Or what do you do in general? Because no one knows you.
That's fair. First and foremost, I'm a videographer at a church called Centerpoint Christian Church in Westchester, Ohio.
Awesome.
And then I am a bass player for a band called Coastal Club, based in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Awesome.
But what happened recently was that my electric guitarist is connected to a fantastic band called Mike Maines and the Branches that I've been a longtime fan of. And he reached out to me and asked if I would like to run merch for them on tour with John Mark McMillan. So I responded by squealing like a little girl. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So, I got to go on tour with him for the first leg of the Body and Ghost tour. It was Mike Maines, John Mark, and Tyson Mostenbacher, who's also awesome.
Awesome.
But yeah, so I was running merch and hanging out with them, and they were incredible. Like I loved all of them. But we got done with the first half, and basically I'm just not a very good merch guy. But that's okay because I got to play a show with them 2 weeks ago at Purdue. It's a thing called Starry Night, and there was like over 5,000 people there, which was like the most insane thing I've ever done. But they are awesome people. And I just basically, he the way he said it, and I really appreciated this. He goes, being on tour, it is all about who you like having the right people in your bus. And he goes, you were definitely the right person in our bus, but I felt like I had you at the wrong station. And I was like, that's fine. I don't math good, so no, it's all good. But it was an insane experience, and I got to sit next to John Mark McMillan and ask him how he felt about David Crowder covering his song, which was
What was his answer to that?
it was funny. So basically, we went. So it was my last night there. We were at Oklahoma City, and we went to this bar called the Bunker, which is really cool. It's got like World War II, like Fallout bunker stuff in it. And I went up to the bar to get a drink, and when I turned around to come back to the table, the only seat that was open was Sarah McMillan, John Mark McMillan, space, and then Chet Kiefer, which is the bass player for Mike. And I was like, I guess God wills it to be. So I sat down, and I literally, because it was John Mark, Sarah, and then Tyson. And so they were just talking. And so I just sat down with my head in my hands and just like stared at him and was just like, I just want to hear everything you have to say. And the only reason because I tried to, during tour, like when you're off stage, I'm not going to talk to you guys because you already get harassed enough by the fans that are here paying to see you. So I'm going to give you that space unless you talk to me first, whatever. And so I was like still kind of treating it that way, but I was also like, this is the one chance I'm going to have. Yeah. So the only reason I got drawn in is John Mark got up to get a drink, and Tyson asked me, he was like, so what is your story? Like, how did you get connected here? You have a Cincinnati Reds hat on. Like, why are you here? And so like then John Mark comes back to the table and we're just talking about me, which means that he's automatically drawn into that conversation. And I was like, I don't want to talk about myself anymore. So I just asked him, I was like, what do you think of David Crowder and his version of How He Loves? And he was like, like, and I don't want to misread anything that he said, but it was more or less like I asked, I was like, are you guys friends? And he was like, he's a good dude. And so my brain was like, so you're not friends. But I mean, I don't want to at all assume anything, but I was like, do you think it got taken out of context? And he was like, absolutely, it got taken out of context. But that's why I released multiple versions of it that don't have like the original verse in it, because I like, if people can worship to it, I guess that's what it is. But it was just funny because like I had to realize that John Mark and Sarah McMillan are just parents who are insanely like talented. Like he's wise as all get out, and I could listen to him to like talk about anything forever. But when it all boils down to it, I was like, I don't have that much in common with you because you're 20 years older than me, probably. Yeah. But like just sitting and like listening was like, I can learn so much from you. Yeah. But I ended up having the biggest connection, I felt like, with John Mark's bass player, Jeremy.
That dude is a beast.
He is a beast, and he's the nicest human being I've ever met in my life. Like they're all super, super kind. And like I had just quit nicotine like 2 weeks before the tour. And we were at that bar, and a couple of them were outside smoking. And so I walked out, and I was like, my brain was going, I couldn't get a cigarette. And the other half of my brain was like, but I also just kind of want to talk to these guys. So I walked out, and Jeremy looks at me, and he's like, do you smoke? And I was like, he was like, don't start now. And so they were really like encouraging to me in the fact of like, we're not going to be that stumbling block for you or whatever. But I still got to talk to all of them, and they were amazing. I just remember I want one specific. Dominic Gerald's was the bass player for John Mark. He's insane. But Mike Maines, his drummer's name is Robbie. He's also from Cincinnati, but he was like, there was one night that the sound was horrible and stuff. So he went back to say something to Dominic, and he started to say something, and Dominic was like, I know, man, it's just one of those opportunities that you're just so excited because you get to worship through it. And Robbie was like, dang it, man. But anyways, they're just amazing, wholesome dudes and incredible music. I realized on that tour that I can, like, John Mark's music will never get old to me. Freaking Nothing Stands Between Us from Mercury and Lightning is incredible. But anyway,
their live album, Live at the Night, that's, in my opinion, one of the best mixed live albums
that's what I was
I've ever
heard.
Yeah.
And the deluxe version with the version of How He Loves, where he walks down into the crowd and starts playing, and you only hear the crowd, just like a sea of people playing that song. Then he comes back on stage and does it full band. But that, and also the talking in between that John Mark does, blew me away. Far and above my favorite live album.
Yeah,
and the talking points that he does in between, I have never met him, but just listening to that, he seems like one of the wisest dudes.
Oh yeah, he says a lot of words that I don't understand. I'll say that much, especially on like his what are they called? Commentaries.
Yeah.
Like the meaning of Mercury and Lightning. Like I'll listen to it and I'll get the information that I need from it, and I like it makes me appreciate it so much more. But there's a lot of moments where I'm like, what?
Yeah, I love that kind of lyric writing that's a little bit more vague and leaves it open to interpretation to whatever you want to put onto it.
He says he does a lot of it through like stream of consciousness writing, which is like Well, that's why.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But it's just really cool.
It feels like that too to listen to, especially this last album. It feels more stream of consciousness than anything else.
For sure.
What's he smell like? Because I have my assumptions.
I feel like we've talked about this.
I texted you.
I was going to say, I feel like, I don't remember.
That was a question that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
And I told Pudge I was going to ask it, and then he pulled up that text conversation between you guys.
Because to
What
me,
did I respond to? What did I say?
I don't remember, but to me, like I always pictured him smelling like pine trees.
Yeah. That's why. Well, I have that now imprinted in my brain, so I was about to tell you pine. But I think what he actually smells like.
Wait. I think he smells like a musty sea captain.
Okay. I think what he actually smells like is the Bunker Bar in Oklahoma City, because it's the only time I've been close enough to tell.
That's fair.
You didn't just lean in, take a quick whiff.
Take a big whiff of it.
Steal a beard hair.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna clone him. That's for sure. That is for sure.
Got my own John Mark.
Yeah. So yeah, that's who I am, and that's what I did.
That's awesome. That's an incredible opportunity.
It was great. It was really cool. And Mike Maines is about to release some new music in the next few weeks, and it is insanely good. So I'm stoked about that as well.
How did you like the tour life of being on a bus with a whole bunch of people?
Well, it wasn't a bus. It was like we had like a 15-passenger van. So that changed things. But
So that sucks.
I mean, there's no winning there. It was literally
how
like
many people in the van?
6? Yes, 6. So it was like, but the back of it, we took out the back bench because it was like full of gear. So you had the driver and passenger seat, then you had a bench, and then you had another bench.
Okay.
But then there was also pillows and blankets and every auxiliary thing, just like in the, so you'd get in your spot, and that's where you were.
Is that where you slept?
No, we had, so it depended on what city we were in, but they have a lot of connections because they've been touring for like 10 years, Mike and them. And they, like when we were in Indiana, there's this family that's connected to a group that I wish I remembered the name of because it's awesome. But it's like basically people that just sign up to host bands when they're touring. But this family, their name, probably shouldn't say it on the air, but they're incredible people. And they've hosted people like A Plea for Purging and Mike and them. And then like the list goes on forever, but they're amazing. So we had like 2 times that we stayed in hotels. But other than that, it was people that were really freaking kind and just accepted us and let us hang out. So it was fun. So I had to fly back a day early, or a couple days early, and I got to the airport in Waco, Texas, and got through security and stuff like that. Found out my flight was delayed, and I sat in the like terminal by myself, like literally nobody else, and it was a motion sense light. So every like 25 minutes I would have to get up and walk to the other side of the room, and literally like I couldn't see anyone. There was no one there.
Wow.
And my flight got delayed like 2 hours. So I was like, well, I'm not making my connecting flight, so I'm not gonna get home, because it was like from Waco to Dallas, then from Dallas to Cincinnati. So I ended up finally, like, the count, it has like a countdown of when they're boarding, and it was like already done. Like 10 minutes after that it hit 0, this guy comes out, he's like, so you're it? And I was like, what? It's like, you're the only person on this flight. I was like, what? So I get on the plane, and it's literally just me and the flight attendant and the captains. And
you sit first
the
class?
captain. I did sit first class,
Awesome.
which it was like one of those planes that like has 2 seats on one side and one on the other. So the first class was just like you get an extra 6 inches of feet, and it's great. Yeah, no. And it was an hour-long flight, but she was like, "Do you want anything to drink or anything to eat?" And I was like, "I'll just have water." And she's like, "Do you want something better than that?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I do.
And so she gave me like a free drink and like every option of the snacks. She just gave them to me.
That's great.
And so it was like an hour-long flight, and I was like, it was the best. I listened to a podcast, and I landed, and it was just like, that was the best. And then I spent the night in Dallas by myself, which was not the best, because I woke up at 7:30, just in one of the chairs to find out that the terminal got changed, and I had to sprint across the airport. So that not only was I by myself, but I was by myself panicking that I was going to miss my flight in the morning, and it was just a mess. That weekend was insane, but it was fun. Anyway, I'll stop talking.
No, don't, because it's giving us content.
That nobody cares about.
No one cares what we say either. So.
That's all right.
We're always in a constant struggle to find something to talk about.
Yeah.
We got ridiculously distracted by rain last time we podcasted because it was like storming outside, and neither one of us could keep a thought in our head. It was just like,
in a good way, or
no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know if you were like, oh, it's so pretty. It's nice out.
I mean, I love watching rain, like heavy weather. I love watching that.
Yeah.
But not when I'm trying to podcast.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's too distracting.
Yeah, I get that. What is that on your notebook? I just need to know.
This or this?
That.
It's a hose
That's what I thought.
thing. Yeah.
Why is that here?
I don't know. I just found it.
Like a
it's really-
garden hose connector.
It's like,
Just sitting in the room.
you know how people on TV will have pins in their hand to give them something to do.
It's like a fidget thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what have I missed?
Here?
Yeah.
Nothing.
We
I don't believe that.
we got called out on Twitter.
For what?
Today?
Carol,
Today you're talking about?
I think so. I think
Was it
today
about
or yesterday?
the wage? Or
The wage thing, and then she texted me about the sunspot observatory stuff.
Yeah.
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 She thinks you're a little ridiculous.
She talked to me today about that too. Did you hear about that?
No.
There was a solar observatory in, I think, Nevada or something, or New
Mexico.
Mexico. And basically, it's just a giant telescope that looks at the sun and monitors solar flares. And if you don't know anything about solar flares, they can like have the potential, if one gets big enough, that it'll disrupt our magnetic field so much that all of our electronics will be fried. And you won't even be able to start your car or anything. And it'd be, if that happens, it'd be like months before the grid would get back up.
Oh, that's fun to know.
Yeah, so could be mass chaos if that happens. But this solar flare, or this solar observatory, all of a sudden the FBI comes in and just shuts it down. Like, gets everybody out of there and quarantines it.
Aliens.
There were multiple theories.
Oh,
but
yeah.
also a local post office was closed down. And like the sheriff for the town couldn't get in. They wouldn't tell him anything. And we're like thinking, like, what could it be? And it happened the day after one of the biggest sunspots that we've seen was observed. And then they shut it down. So I'm thinking there's like this massive solar flare, and like the government doesn't want anybody to know about it because it doesn't want widespread panic. But turns out the janitor was using the Wi-Fi to look up child porn.
I did hear about this. Yes, I did.
And they didn't want him to come in and like catch a wind of it and then tamper with their case.
Which didn't he leave a laptop in the lobby or
I don't
something
know
just
that.
open? I thought
Maybe.
I was listening to another podcast where they were talking about, I didn't have any context for what was going on, but
It's like, don't get me wrong, child porn's not funny in the slightest, but the way that like we build it up
We
so
hyped it up
much.
so much of aliens.
because you think it's going
Sunspot
to
thing.
be this massive thing.
And it was just the janitor.
The janitor.
That's such a bummer.
Janitor's a perv.
Yeah.
That's such a bummer. You got me excited. You led me on a trail. Here's the thing, and this isn't a plug because it's probably not wholesome, but there's a podcast called The Last Podcast.
I
on
love
the
that
Left.
podcast.
That's one of my favorite podcasts. I listen to it all the way.
I actually got into that podcast because you made a playlist of it on SoundCloud.
Did I?
Yeah.
It's because my friend Seth is obsessed with it, and I randomly brought it up at a dinner that we had together, and he was like, "Wait, are you into that stuff?" I was like, "I'm so into that stuff." He was like, "Let's do this." And so he made me that playlist. But yeah, they talk about like
They cover a lot of serial killers.
Yeah, it's a lot of serial killers, like their upbringing and like why they snapped, I guess, or like alien stories that never got resolved.
Yeah.
And so like I just get so excited about it because I'm like, I don't. There's a lot of people that say like, who was it? There's a quote where the guy says, "If we find that there's life beyond our universe, then that would disprove God." And I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how that would be the case.
They have
but-
already found planets that are very, very similar to ours, have
Right.
water and at least vegetation.
To me, like, if anything, the complexity that holds in itself, like, to me, it just cannot be a random, like,
right.
this happened without any sort of design.
Right. And yeah, I don't know.
From an atheist or agnostic, I guess, but a friend of mine who's agnostic, borders, like, depending on the day, atheist or agnostic. But he says that there's beauty in that randomness. that it just happened because I was just talking with him one time. We would get in these really deep conversations about like faith and stuff, and he was like, to me, like you look at creation and say there's no, or you look at the world and say there's no way this could all be random, and it's like beautifully created by a God. I look at it and say that's freaking amazing and beautiful that it happened randomly. That's his perspective of it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I wasn't trying to like win him over or
Right.
anything or convince him of anything, but if I was, I wouldn't know how to respond to that.
No, that's good.
You know?
I mean, and I don't know. I'm a bad evangelist because I'm just kind of like, well, especially if I'm talking to somebody of another religion, because typically we're talking about the same dude. Like I had a long conversation with a guy in a truck at Amazon about his religion, and he had pulled beliefs from different religions, like Hinduism and Buddhism, but the way that he would describe all the things that he was trying to get in touch with, or the spirit, like why he meditated, what he felt like he got in touch with when he meditated and stuff like that. I was like, I think we're talking about the same stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have different words for a lot of the same stuff. And he was like, I think you're right. Like,
If you look at a lot of those religions, they're all extremely similar.
right.
That's what, when you were talking about what he was saying, he finds the beauty in the randomness. I mean, it's all individual perspectives, but like to me, like it kind of sounds like you're saying the same thing, but again, it's just the perspective that you see it through.
Yeah,
you know, like,
And it's just like that core, and also with those religions, it's like the core of ours is a little bit different because we believe in a singular one deity
Right.
that did everything, created everything, and it's either random or it's multiple things plus randomness.
It's just, yeah. I'm just not smart enough to have those conversations typically. So I'm like, if you're not trying to turn me, we're good. Like, I'll be an influence to you as much as possible, but I'm going to do you no good by saying
Shoving
my
this down your
side.
throat.
Because I can't, like, and that's my fault that I can't defend it as strongly as but like, I also feel like I'm in a good spot where I'm figuring stuff out. And like in high school, I was such a tool because I thought I had it all figured out. So I was just a jerk.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm making up for that like I did through college. And then now in life, it's just like, I don't know. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, because even if I had a doctrine that I firmly believed and I fought you to the death on it, I would die and find out, nah, you were wrong about a lot of that. Like, there's no way I'm going to be right about everything.
Well, we talked about that on a previous podcast because I'm a theistic evolutionist. Basically, I believe that God created everything via evolution.
Okay.
I think the science backs that. You can fight me on it. I'm probably wrong. But so that's what I believe, but I'm also very open to being wrong about that. And I think that you kind of should be on a lot of stuff, like politics, religion, whatever. I think if you can be big enough to say, I'm wrong on this, or I could be wrong on this, I think that leaves a lot of space open for you to learn and grow.
I think when, just in my opinion, when people are not open to that, I think that more so comes out of a place of fear of like, if I am wrong on something, it's going to shake my faith like to the core. And like, where like, to me, I mean, kind of like what you were saying, like you don't really know how to defend something like faith. To me, I can't really tell you necessarily in words why, like I believe in God. It's just kind of like I do.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they're like, I'm not afraid of science finding out things because I genuinely believe that that's just going to further my like belief in it.
Right.
And so I think when, and everyone has their own insecurities, but like when someone is insecure in the foundation of that, I think that's when they are more likely to like fight you on, like, no, that I'm right because this has to be right because this is make it or break it for me, you know?
Yeah. But I think to that, so I think it was, I mean, it's the Liturgist podcast, but Gungor opened my mind to the idea that Genesis like the creation story might be poetry.
That's what I've been saying. I said it on this podcast. It's metaphorical.
I don't know. No, I don't know about it. I mean, I don't know what I believe about it, but I thought that was really interesting because that would answer the age of the earth questions and things like that, which I think is interesting because I don't think it's just interesting how many of us are just like, nah, it's 2,000 years or whatever it actually.
6.
What do you believe in that? Like,
I don't know, man. That's what I'm saying. Like I'm ready to be wrong about it.
well, that's what
I so this is funny. Like 2 days ago, Molly stopped to get a car wash, and I was in the car, and we had just gotten Chick-fil-A, and we were sitting in the garage. It was like one of the car wash. No, it wasn't a car wash. It was an oil change.
Made our boss so happy.
Why?
The dude that runs Back Row Radio, he loves Chick-fil-A.
Shameless plug.
Chick-fil-A, please sponsor us, please. Anyone.
So it wasn't. We did do a car wash, but after that we went to Valvoline to get an oil change, and that's where we were. But it was like the one where you sit in your car and they do it while you're there. And so this kid is talking to us the whole time, and Molly was wearing her CCU shirt, which anyway.
Cincinnati Christian.
Yeah, my alma mater. I'm not saying anything more than that. That's fair. That's fair. On the 180 Christian schools in America. Anyway, so we were sitting there, and he sees the shirt, and he said something about how he knew people from there, and then he was talking about how he was recently saved, like a couple years ago, and he just kind of like went into it a little bit, and he said that it was completely based off of the fact that he visited the Creation Museum. Wow. From Answers in Genesis. He said everything there just made sense. And he happened to go on a day where Ken Ham was there, so he got to ask him questions.
Wow.
And he said it was right before that debate with Bill Nye. And he said, so that just further like solidified it. Which, if I were this guy, as a Christian, horrible Christian, I was like, you're saying all the things that just anger me about Christianity. And so like, but it worked for him. So like, who am I to, who am I to diss? But go ahead. What was I going to say? No, you're good. Yep. I lost it. It's okay. No, it's totally fine.
I was just going to say, like, that's what's just recently, I mean, it's like a struggle of mine to get to that point where like, because I'll bash the Creation Museum all the time, but like you said, like for some people, it makes sense to them.
That's what it takes,
and that's what they connect, and they're like, oh, yeah. So I should do better at not.
I just,
to me,
like I talk about how I'm open-minded, and I'm like, there's no wrong way to do it, and then I'm like, nah, that's the wrong one. That's the one. When Bill Nye is asking questions, and you're telling him that the answers are in the Bible to a guy that doesn't believe in the Bible,
exactly.
Like get off the stage, man.
Yeah, and because that's the Answers in Genesis place or whatever. Like that's a make it or break it for them is young Earth, like everything's literal,
right?
And like, I don't know. I asked you like what you believe about creation, and I'm kind of in the same spot. I'm not sure. Like, but to me, that's not what causes me to believe.
Right.
Like, for all I know, like, they can, how they can dig down and see the layers of like the years or whatever of the Earth. I don't know. For all I know, God just like put them in there just to make us think about it, and we're all wrong,
Yeah.
And that's okay. I think that's kind of funny and like would be kind of cool. Yeah. Like we get there and he's like, yeah, I was just messing with you. It's like, like
I hope that he's like that. I mean, he's got to be if we're made in his image, and we can think of that, right?
Just look at some of the animals. Like he's got to have a sense of humor.
That my geology teacher at CCU, which was a class that I liked because it was a lot of field trips, but he would never refer to the Earth as young. He would always say millions of years, like always. And he's a very religious guy. And so it was interesting because he's full-fledged, like, in that world. And he was like, it would be stupid of me to say 2,000 years. And I know that that's not right. What is the actual?
6,000.
Yeah.
See? I'm very educated. 5 years of Bible college got me very far.
Well, it's only 2018, so.
So obviously, duh. There was some sort of trail that I was going to go down earlier when I was talking about Ken Ham and that stuff. I don't remember what it was, so I'm gonna.
I was disappointed by that.
Fail.
I was I was like,
I'm quotation marks debate. It was just two people talking.
Well, no, but neither of them were good.
well, because like the thing, Ken Ham refused to look at it from his perspective.
Right.
He just assumed that no, what I believe is fact.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, he doesn't believe that. Like,
Right.
it just doesn't work. So you got nowhere.
That was my question during my Bible class in high school, because we're talking about like how to talk to non-Christians. I'm like, well, how can we approach this that isn't from the Bible? Because they don't believe that. Mm-hmm. You can't just be like, well, it says here in Mark, whatever. And I did not get a good answer from them.
Yeah.
Basically, the answer was, well, the word or scripture is God breathed and it'll talk to them.
Right.
Which, I mean, sure, I think there's validity to that, but I also think that you can't just throw scripture at people and expect them to get it and understand it.
Right.
So,
And especially like in Christian education, there's this. It's almost like they forget about the first. Like, you have to be a person to someone before you can just start throwing stuff at them. It's just like this whole thing is like a mission to just meet people and then immediately turn them.
yeah.
And it's
Which I've done that on missions trips before through my high school. We would go out and we went to Columbus. And one of the things we did while in Columbus is we just walked up to somebody and said, hey, can I pray with you about anything? Which is fine. But then we had to talk with them about why do you believe what you believe? And here's what I believe. And this is why you should believe what I believe. Yeah.
It was on a good. It was a good start.
It was a good start, but then
Really tailed off at the
what
end.
we were supposed to do. Yeah.
But like, I've had better. I know. I found the trail that I was going to go down. This is different. Sorry, I'm
Totally
switching.
fine. Completely fine. Happens all the time.
Alex, a good friend of mine, we were talking in Chicago a couple weeks ago, just like sitting at a table talking, and he said that theology is a luxury, which was really cool to think about, because he was referring to people in other countries and stuff like that, that they're worried about God literally providing every day. So like, we can say, well, please God, give us our daily bread. We don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And so instead, we spend our time worrying, like, how can I convince this person that I'm right about these issues, where those people are literally like, we have us and God, and that is that. Like, we literally rely on him to provide for us. We literally rely on him to heal us. Like, sure, they have doctors and stuff like that, but typically it's a lot more of a adventure to get to a doctor that knows what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And so I just thought it was really interesting, because me and him we've talked about religion before, but like I said, I typically have no idea what I'm getting at when I get into those conversations. So I'm just kind of there to hear what people have to say, so that I can come out of it smarter than I was before. But the fact that he said that, it got my wheels turning more than anything has before. Where he's literally like, yeah, they don't have time to worry about the crap that we're talking about. So what happens to them? Like,
what if they're wrong on something?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares?
Right.
They literally can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And I think God would understand. Or I hope. And so, I mean, and there's people that will literally argue whether or not you have to be dunked or not, because the guy on the cross next to Jesus didn't have to be dunked. Like, he was next to Jesus. And also, like, what are you arguing?
He's nailed to the, he couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah, literally. Can you tilt this thing?
Just kind of dunk me over.
So it's just like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Why are you, like, I don't know. And like having to, I don't know, sign a contract saying I believe these things, or I don't know. I know some churches that like their members have to follow a code. It's like, all right, I'm not interested in a membership anymore. I thought I was, but no.
I was in Savannah, Georgia, 2 weeks ago, and there's a very, very, very old Catholic church down there, St. John's Cathedral. Beautiful, very beautiful. The floor's marble, like the walls up to a certain threshold are marble. Some of the the whole ceiling is painted. It's one of the most gorgeous Catholic churches I've ever been in, and nothing. I'm trying not to bash the Catholic Church, but I think I'm about to. But I have like my extended family, most of them is Catholic because we're of Italian descent, so I think we legally have to be. But Paisan. But every time I'm in a Catholic church, they're always gorgeous, they're always beautiful, and I'm like, I get it. Like, this is amazing, and I feel like I'm in a place of worship. But at the same time, I know like what goes on in the Catholic faith, and I'm not talking about any molestation or anything like that. I'm talking about like the rules that they have to adhere to. And every time I go to a Catholic mass or a Catholic funeral, it's like, this is cool. I like the tradition of it, but I feel a very strong disconnect to what we're looking towards right now. You know what I
Fair.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we get too wrapped up in trying to do the things perfectly that we just don't like get anything done.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, like trying to focus on what's like the absolutes, basically. It's kind of how I look at it. Like, and there, don't get me wrong, there are things that like I believe that are like absolutes, but it's a very small number of things. And like I heard somebody tell me one time, like, you know, if you think about it, you hold up your hands, like in this hand, there's like 4 things that I think are foundational that like are absolute, and you can find them in the Bible. He's like, in this hand is all the things that we do in church that I think are kind of like, I don't know, maybe, I mean, probably doesn't hurt, but like if we don't do it, I'm not going to die.
Yeah.
You know, and like in this hand, you're always, it's kind of like things evolve, you know. But like if you have your, again, the absolutes that you think are truth in this hand, you can be open to the other things in this hand.
Right.
Being right or wrong on, you know.
Right.
Yeah. No, I dig it.
I'm going to try to make an analogy, and
Oh, I'm so excited.
from what I have in my
Me
head
too.
now, it feels smart.
Yeah. Okay.
But when it comes out, it might not be smart. So just bear with me. But I feel like faith, Christianity in general, is obviously it's a journey to God. But the mental image that I have in my head is God, like on the other side of a mountain, and you have to like traverse the trails and stuff. And He's calling you to Him, and you're saying, "Yes, awesome. I'll be there in a second. I just got to pack this. I got to get this. Oh, shoot, I forgot this. I got to get this ready. I got to tie my boots." And He's like, "Wait a minute. Just all I want is you. You don't need all this extra stuff that you keep putting on yourself. Just come to me." And I feel like we're doing that with the Catholic faith. Not to bash Him, but I am. But I feel like you're just adding all this stuff, all this baggage onto it that takes away from the actual purpose.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's most religions, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, like you were talking about things in church. That's a big struggle of mine right now is like, I know a couple people that just have decided that church is not for them. And so they're just like, nah, I'll just do my own thing. And the church will be those interactions that I have and those people that I choose to spend my time with, which I respect to a point because that is what it is. But there was a church that one of my friends was about, like he interviewed to work at and stuff, but they haven't even launched yet. They're in Boston. And they were like, the first year that we are a church staff, we will not have a building. We will not have a service. We will live in this community and we will be a church. And that's it. And so he's like, we will dig in. We won't, like, we will just be Jesus to people in our community. And we will just be the best influence to our community that we can be, so that when we start this church, we already have that as our intention before we even. And so it's just really cool to think about that, because we're this generation that starts questioning things. And so we start questioning, like, why are we doing this stuff? So then we are open to, like you were talking about, we have the left hand full of things that we know are foundational, but then this right hand, we can do whatever will influence us, our communities, in the best way that possible. If we're willing to take that leap to be like, yeah, like I need something else, you know? Yeah. And so like there's a church in Cincinnati that just launched called Queen City Church. And their launch day, I think they had like 250 people. I'm like, that's unheard of. Yeah. Like that's insane. But you started a fire that people wanted to be a part of, and people love to be parts of things. Like, I know that I don't know if I talked about this on well, it didn't get released, so never mind. One of the biggest times I was ever convicted recently was watching an FC Cincinnati promo, because it was about how they had just gotten accepted to be an MLS team after 2 seasons of being a team. And so it's this video of just everyone in Cincinnati going crazy, and like all the festivities at the FC Cincinnati is a soccer team in Cincinnati. I probably should have started that. Very young team, but they're incredible. And the video is just very well made. It has the Bailey, which is like this, it's like the rowdy section, and they're just going crazy, and they're showing FC people at events in Cincinnati. And so I was like, holy cow, this sports organization is being a better church than we are. Because it was like they're involved in like every local shop in Cincinnati, or every local business is somehow connected to FC Cincinnati, because they've made an effort to go in. Like they've been in Rheingeist stuff before. They have a Rheingeist shop like at the stadium. They had they're in all of the like t-shirt shops, and I just feel like they're very involved, and they make their image like so public because they are so good at being interested in their fans. Yeah. And so like you get there, and like I wasn't even a big fan of soccer until I went to my first game there, and I was like, this is insane. Like this is like 25,000 people for a team that's been here for a year. Like they're outselling like Columbus Crew. And so like you're just a part of this thing that is so much bigger than yourself, and you get so stoked about it, so you want to bring more people. And like that literally it caught fire for me, and I saw it happen for other people. It's just like you experience it, and you tell somebody else, and they're like, well, I'm not really into soccer. And you're like, well, you have to experience this to understand what I'm talking about. And then people get hooked. And so like I saw that video, and it reminded me of how I felt the first time I went to FC Cincinnati. And I was like, man, why aren't we doing that stuff? Yeah. Man? And so I don't know. It's just, I think we've lost and I say we've lost, this is just a very broad, like I'm painting with a very broad brush, and it's not accurate, but just being a part of where we live is as effective as forcibly just jumping into a conversation where you're trying to convert somebody. Yeah. It's far more effective, I feel like. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm off of my soapbox.
Avery the evangelist.
No, please don't ever do that. Avery is here to chill.
That was good stuff, man.
That was.
I think we're
deep.
I think we're about ready to wrap it up. I think.
Are we?
Right? We're at that time.
We are.
Our time limit is self-imposed and has no strict rules.
Let's go to an hour and a half.
Okay. We're on for 3 hours.
That's right. We are on for 3 hours.
I want to talk about World of Warcraft.
We've already alienated our fans when talking about wrestling.
WWE. Yeah. That was a good episode, though. See? I lost it.
I know you're talking.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. I told Jordan already.
When we watched it on his honeymoon?
Yes. Literally, I'm sitting in my car listening to this on the way back from work, and it's just like 3 straight minutes of Jordan doing that wheeze. And it just, the first minute and a half, I was just kind of zoned out. And then I was like, this is still happening. And then I'm laughing. And then I'm laughing at the fact that I'm laughing because I'm on the highway, cracking up to just squeaking on my radio. And it's just hysterical because the fact that I know you guys was that I knew exactly what the look was. I knew exactly. Because, the comment wasn't that funny. It was, but as soon as you said, it's like in the middle of a laugh, somebody said something about the look that somebody gave. Yeah, I said and that so it was just like, I immediately was like, oh, okay, I know what's happening. But I'm just like, oh, I looked like an idiot. She was just squeaking, so I'm cracking up.
Every time I make him laugh and he goes on for a little bit, I've stopped laughing about whatever I said, 10 seconds
Oh, yeah, you just start laughing at the laugh.
And I started just laughing at him laughing at me.
Yep. See,
so imagine us two in this room just sitting here laughing, looking at each other laughing. Basically what it is.
It's for content, man. It works.
Oh, yeah. Man.
So anyway, what do you guys think about autumn?
The season?
Yep. No, the person.
Why'd you call it Autumn?
I don't know. Because I was
sister-in-law.
Who the heck calls it Autumn?
You have a sister-in-law called Autumn?
Her name is Autumn, yeah.
Way to be a part of the family. Distant cousin.
What do you think about her?
She's pretty okay.
Neat. Why are you so offended that I said autumn instead of fall?
I just
Why are you so offended?
okay. I have some.
Evangelize.
It's
Tell me
it's
why
like,
I'm
it's
wrong.
like saying aunt instead of aunt.
What about aunt?
I say aunt, and then to
Why do
hear,
you say aunt?
To hear aunt sounds weird.
Why?
I don't know. It's just a word that I don't hear often.
It's spelled
like,
aunt.
around here, you hear aunt more than anything else.
Okay. Sound it out.
Aunt.
Yeah, I say aunt. So.
Do you guys find? I know we're supposed to be wrapping it up.
Yeah. We should
it
definitely
worked. It
wrap
worked.
it up and then do another episode
Okay.
so we can get to
I'll ask it on the next episode.
Okay.
But,
So stay tuned.
that's
It's
right.
not a
Cliffhanger.
Got to tune in next week.
That's right. Thank you for sticking around with us this far.
Yeah.
Or is it thus far?
Whichever
These
you want.
fa-
I don't get picky with words. so
These
use what you want.
fars. Yeah, you do. I said autumn.
You can find us
I like it, by the way. I like fall. It's
on
my favorite
Twitter
season.
at My Friend Podcast.
And you can please email us in.
Please.
Let us
please.
know how we're doing. Email us in some questions at itrustyoupodcast@gmail.com.
Yes.
You can find me on Twitter at TheJordanBenter.
You could find me on Twitter. You shouldn't. Twitter's. I'm not very active on Twitter.
What's your Insta?
Insta is just Avery Benter, and then also look up Coastal Club.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
perfect.
right.
Check out that band.
I just got mixes back for our new stuff, and
Excited?
oh my gosh, it just starts a whole new.
It's like kind of
Excitement.
surfy indie rock stuff.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Poppy surfy
I dig it in a big way.
jams.
That's right.
You can find me on Twitter at Don Moretti.
And you can hear us on Back Row Radio on Fridays at
In the morning.
in the morning. We'll be there.
Eastern time, I think we air at 7 to 10, and then, 7, 8, 9 to 10, and then 10 to 12, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's how it works. I have to count on my fingers. I'm not good at math. But thank you so much for listening. We hope you really, really, really enjoyed it. We hope you liked Avery. Let us know how much you either liked him or hated him.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll have him back. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Just two dudes having a conversation. You're my friend and I trust you.